Hey guys, so now that 2017 is essentially over, it's time to reflect back on everything that happened this year, and of course, all the movies that have come out this year. Now, as a whole, I'd say it was a pretty good year, especially compared to the rest of the decades, or at least this decade. Probably not as good as 2012, but still up there in terms of quality and number of good films. So I figured, obviously, just to end the year with my top 10 movies of the year. So number 10, we've got Wonder Woman. Now, at this point, we all know that the DCU is kind of a mess. Batman vs. Superman was okay. Suicide Squad was good enough. Justice League was meh. But Wonder Woman is easily the best of the bunch. And then Gal Gadot probably gives my favorite performance of the year. She's great. It was a lot of fun. I wasn't really too excited for it when the trailer first came out, but I loved it a lot when I went to see it in theaters. However, the second time I watched it, I had watched it with my mom, and she wasn't really digging it. And obviously, when you watch a movie that you like with people that don't like it, it kind of has a negative effect on it, which is why it's so low on the list. But I mean, it's still good. It's the best of the DCU. So I don't know if that's saying much or not. At number nine, we've got Kong Skull Island. Now, Peter Jackson's King Kong was a long, long, long mess with a pretty shitty cast. This one is completely different. This was a great way to start out the year in terms of blockbusters, and this is probably one of the best popcorn flicks that I've seen in a long time. It's a monster movie done right with an amazing cast. Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson, John Goodman, Samuel L. Jackson, and of course a huge gorilla. Um, it's just a lot of fun. There's so much action sets there. John C. Riley is great in it. And I just really like the way that they took the story. Unlike Peter Jackson, they didn't like flaw it out. Everything was just there. And it was a monster movie, plain and simple. And the fact that it's setting up Godzilla versus King Kong and, Mothra, King Ghidorah, whatever those monsters are, makes it even so much better. Coming in at number eight, we've got Baby Driver. Now, Baby Driver was probably one of the best trailers I've seen all year. When it first came out, I was really, really excited. I actually went to see it the night before, at about the midnight release, and I enjoyed it a lot. Edgar Wright is just an amazing filmmaker. He's probably one of the best directors working right now, and easily one of my favorites. And that's why Baby Driver is so good, because he filmed this movie essentially around songs. He had the song list picked out, and they're just you can tell that it was written around the songs. There's so much things that are in sync. The soundtrack is amazing. The cast is really great. Ansel Elgort is fantastic as Baby. I wasn't a huge fan of the ending myself, but that doesn't take away the fact that like the opening, I don't know, 40 minutes or so are just phenomenal. And I really applaud Edgar Wright for doing that. I haven't really disliked any of his movies so far. They're all great to me. Coming in at number seven, we've got Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, with Spider-Man being my favorite superhero, you'd think this would be a little bit higher. And while it's still a great film, there's just a little bit more better than it. Tom Holland is great as Spider-Man. This is actually my second favorite after the original Spider-Man back in 2002. I really like Tobey Maguire. Andrew Garfield was okay. He had the sarcastic part of Spider-Man, but he wasn't really a great Peter Parker. Tom Holland takes Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and mashes them together. He's got the nerdy type Peter Parker, and he's also just amazing as Spider-Man himself. He captures like the witty humor, the sarcasm, and just Tom Holland nails that role. We've also got Michael Keaton as Vulture, who is probably the best Marvel villain so far, in my opinion. Probably one of the best superhero movie villains in a long time, either. Especially because he played Birdman, so now he's played a bat, he's played a bird, and now he's played a vulture. So what's next? I don't know. A pigeon, maybe voicing a pigeon. Let's find out. Um, Marissa Tomei is great as Aunt May. The other thing I was worried about from the trailers was that it was going to be a buddy movie essentially with Spider-Man and Iron Man. Luckily, that turned out not to be the case. I mean, Iron Man's in it a good amount, but he's essentially a father figure to Peter, and I'm glad they didn't focus too much on him because that would have just ruined the fun. but it's still great. It's got the good high school plot, and it was just a nice continuation of my favorite superhero. I can't wait to see more of him in Infinity War and the Homecoming sequel whenever that comes out, probably 2019 or so. Coming in at number six, we've got War for the Planet of the Apes. Now, this series, it's interesting. I don't know if it's pretty big. I know it's got its fans, but nobody really ever talks about it. Rise of the Planet of the Apes was okay. Then I watched Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and I was really blown away by that one. And then I went to see War for the Planet of the Apes. Once again, wasn't too excited for it, but I just wanted to get out and go see a movie that weekend. Figured this would be good, and it turned out to be really fucking good. Now, I know what's his name? Andy Serkis does an amazing voice capture of Caesar, and this one's got Woody Harrelson essentially as the bad guy. It's just the war, humans versus villains. The apes, actually, sorry. The apes are basically being treated as slaves, and it really has a lot of, I guess, real world similarities, essentially. And it's just a very powerful film. Sometimes hard to watch at times. And it's also got, I'll reference another movie later in the list, but there's a lot of similarities between another one that kind of left me leaving the theater in the same way, but more on that later. Next up at number five, we've got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now, everybody knows the Guardians of the Galaxy by now. The movie came out of nowhere. Only really big comic book fans knew who they were before the movie, and they just took the Marvel Cinematic Universe by storm. Amazing cast, great soundtrack, just a bunch of good cast interactions, which is continued over to this one. I actually enjoyed this one a lot more than the first. First of all, it's got the probably the best opening scene I've seen in a long time, with everybody dancing along to Mr. Blue Sky, one of my favorite songs as well. It's got another one of the best MCU villains, and that is Kurt Russell as Ego. Now, obviously, none of the trailers I don't think expected that little twist there, but it's very funny too. 2017 was not a great year for comedies, unfortunately, because that's my favorite genre. And surprisingly, all of the superhero movies turned out to be the funniest of the year. With this one definitely being high up on that list, besides another one. But overall, I mean, Chris Pratt, Michael Rooker steals the show in this as Yondu. I'm glad he got a lot more screen time that he deserved. And once again, you kind of leave the theater with mixed feelings as far as emotions. But I enjoyed every minute of that, especially seeing it with a bunch of coworkers because my company rented out a theater, which was pretty awesome. Coming in at number four, we've got Beauty and the Beast. Now, this is one, I believe it's the top grossing movie of the year, but I don't think a lot of people have it on their top 10 list. I mean, I haven't heard any personally, but I friggin' loved this movie. I had recently just watched the animated version, I think a couple days before this came out, and I decided to see it in theaters, and I was just blown away. I had a smile on my face the entire time. Um, it's great. It's one of the best animated movies by Disney, and I really think they captured the spirit of it in live action. It's the first one of those live action movies I've seen. Still need to check out Pete's Dragon, and then The Jungle Book, and then they're doing Aladdin and The Lion King, which don't really look good in my opinion, but we'll see. But this one's great. Dan Stevens is amazing as the Beast. Luke Evans as what is it? Gaston. Josh Gad plays LeFou. He was great as him. I love him a lot. He's always funny. Steals the show every time. And then of course Ewan McGregor as Lumiere and Emma Watson. Now, I just love Emma Watson so much. She's beautiful and she's just so charming as Belle. That role couldn't have been casted any better, and I just loved her so much in it. She really captured it. I watched it again a couple days ago, and I honestly might watch it again tonight. It's just that good. I had a smile on my face the whole time. I loved every single minute of it. I highly recommend you guys go see it. Watch it with the family. It's the perfect one to see. Coming in at number three, we've got Thor Ragnarok. Now, this is one that I was excited about from the minute I saw the trailer. Thor has always been one of my favorites of the MCU, and Chris Hemsworth just nails it. Obviously, everybody missed him and Hawk in Civil War, so this was finally like, okay, well, where the hell were they? And now we finally got that answer. It was essentially a buddy movie with Hawk and Thor, and it couldn't have been any better. Jeff Goldblum, everybody got excited when we first saw him in the trailer, and you can just tell he's having so much fun in the role. It's just, it's funny, it's action packed. It has the best use of a song that I've ever seen in a movie. Actually uses the song twice, the Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin. The opening scene with that is just fantastic. I was just laughing the entire time and then kind of just rocking out of my seat because that's one of my favorite songs. And I can't wait to see more of that and how they will interact with Infinity War, which obviously is pretty sure is like half of you's um, most anticipated movie of next year. It is for me. I can't wait to see it. I'll probably end up seeing it in theaters at least 3 times. So May 4th, look out. Coming in at number 2, we've got It. Now, this movie, I don't even know how to explain it. I just fucking love it. Now, I went to see this twice in theaters. That actually one of 2 movies I saw in theaters. The other one being Star Wars, twice that is. And it was just incredible. It was a nice, refreshing horror movie, something that we haven't seen in a while. I went to see it opening weekend with one of my coworkers, and we both loved it. Obviously, the 1990 TV version has its fans, but the effects and stuff do not hold up today. This one does. Bill Skarsgård is terrifying as Pennywise, and the child cast is perfect. It kind of felt like Stand By Me mixed together with, I don't know, well, Scary Clown, I guess. Luckily, both written by Stephen King, which makes perfect sense because the cast has great chemistry together. It's got Finn Wolfhard from what's his name from Stranger Things. A lot better in that though than this, but it's scary too. It legitimately has some terrifying scenes in it, and actually, the one scene in the garage is probably my favorite scene of any movie this year. I've actually watched that like 20 times, and I've watched the movie 3 times in the past week. Flying from Austin to Baltimore on the plane, trying to kind of freak out the people next to me, but at the same time just watching it because it's just that good. I loved every minute of it, and Chapter 2 is coming in 2019, and I cannot wait to see how they handle that. I'm really, really, really excited. And then coming in at number 1 here, we've got, maybe no surprise to anybody, Logan. Now, Logan is just, I have no words for it really. I didn't want my list to be cluttered with superhero movies because obviously they're just taking over the box office these days. But Logan is a superhero movie that doesn't feel like one at all. It is a straight drama. It has nothing to do with like the typical superheroes. I mean, everybody loves Hugh Jackman as Logan. We knew that it was going to be his final role, and I'd actually love to see him get some award consideration for it, simply because we got 17 years of Hugh Jackman playing a character that we all fell in love with, and this one just it goes out with a bang. It's it feels like a Western drama type with very emotionally attached characters. The little girl who plays Laura is fantastic. I walked out of the theater just amazed. I actually haven't watched it since because I feel like it's one of those movies you just can't watch over and over again. You kind of need to take it in stride because I don't want it to ruin the next viewing, essentially. I kind of want to wait and see when I'm really ready to watch it and hopefully that it holds up because it was great. I left the theater with so many emotions, and I'm it's easily my favorite of the year. It was actually I walked out thinking it's probably one of my favorite movies of all time. That's how great it is. So anyway, I mean that's my top 10 of 2017. Like I said, it's been an alright year. Hopefully 2018 will be a lot better, but we'll see. Tell me what you guys think of my list. Let me know how they compare. What are your top 10? What do you think I missed? How differently would you rank them? Let me know, and let's see what comes next year.